everyone. Welcome to another edition of the TimeFlies podcast. I am your host, Dario. First and foremost, the reason why I look like this is because the USA just finished playing South Sudan, and I actually have to get to work very soon. But I definitely wanted to give my thoughts, my takes about the game. So the USA just beat South Sudan by the score of 100 to 101. And listen, if this game was during the week, if this game was on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, the NBA media, First Take, Undisputed, all these NBA talking head shows, NBA Today, they would be going crazy over how the USA almost lost to South Sudan. I want to make the distinction though. The USA just they completely just disrespected the South Sudan. They came out, they did not come out to play. You can tell that they were just out there lollygagging, did not take any precedence over the scouting report. The big man for South Sudan, his last name was McCulloch, I think, and he's about to go play for Duke. In the scouting report, Bill Raftery and the other guy commentating on the game, they said that the scouting report, the number one thing about McCulloch was that he likes to get up and down the floor. He likes to run the floor. And time again during today's game, he was beating our big man. He was beating Anthony Davis. He was beating Joel Embiid down the floor. And that's just one of the examples I can bring to you guys as to why the USA, why this game was so close. Now, of course, you do have to give South Sudan a lot of credit. There was a couple things that I saw throughout the duration of the game that disrupted the USA flow. And the number one thing that I can point to was their bigs being able to step away from the basket and actually being able to hit like a little mid-range jumper. Time and time again, I saw Joel Embiid, I saw Anthony Davis not respect the big man and his capability of hitting the mid-range shot and falling asleep on the defensive end. And that just gave more and more momentum to South Sudan. And I feel bad for South Sudan, man, because first of all, they definitely deserve to get this W. They definitely deserve to get this win. But everything was going well up until there was one play that definitely turned the momentum of the game. And it was a play where Drew Holiday, it was toward the sideline of the court where Drew Holiday he deflected the ball, and you could see that the South Sudan player, instead of hustling and going after the ball, he just waited until the ball went out of bounds. But Drew Holiday, he's the one that hustled, he's the one that saved the ball, gave the ball to LeBron James, and then LeBron James went down the court and he actually got an and one dunk. And from that moment on, the momentum totally shifted back towards the USA. That was in the beginning of the second half. So going into halftime, South Sudan was up. I forgot about how much, maybe about like 10, 12 points, maybe, or maybe like 8 points. And the whole entire first half, the USA, like I said in the beginning of this episode, that USA was sleeping. They weren't respecting their opponent. And then in the second half, they actually started their bench. Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, Derek White, and I forgot who that fifth person was. They actually started the second half because I guess Steve Kerr thought that they were going to be able to bring a little bit more energy, especially on the defensive end, especially throwing in Derek White. And then after the first, like, what, 3, 4 minutes, then he implemented the starting five back into the game. Starting five for today's game, he went to Stephen Curry at the one, Drew at no, Stephen Curry at the one, Devin Booker at the two, I guess Drew Holiday at the three, LeBron at the four, and Embiid at the five. And yeah, the start. I agree with Steve Kerr, man. Starting the bench at the beginning of the second half. Like I've always been an advocate of like whoever's playing well. I don't care who's out there. I don't care if it's a second unit. I don't care if it's a mixture of the first unit and the second unit. I've always been an advocate of whoever's playing well, whoever's keeping the momentum is going to stay on the court. And if you develop a lead, if you bring the team back from being down 5, 10 points, you deserve to get more minutes. I've always been a big advocate for that. But Steve Kerr, after the first 3, 4 minutes of the second half, he brought in the starting five again and they woke up. I believe at the end of the third quarter, they scored like 37 points. So they kind of took it serious by the beginning of the second half. But man, I actually really wanted to see the South Sudan win this game. I kind of wanted to see how USA would react if they lost this game. Now, one thing for sure, two things for certain. South Sudan is in the group play. They're in the same group as the United States for the Olympics. So when the Olympics actually start, and whenever USA faces South Sudan, I fully expect South Sudan to get their doors blown off whenever USA plays them, because now USA, they know what they're facing up against, and they should feel embarrassed by this performance. And going into the next game, whenever they play the South Sudan, I expect South Sudan to lose by a minimum of 30 points. So we'll see if Team USA is really like that. Like I said in the previous episode, I'm not sure if it was against Serbia or if it was against Australia. I'm not sure which episode it was, but I gave my 2 cents about this USA team. I wasn't entirely sure if they wouldn't come back with the gold, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And I'm still having a little bit of hard time. And the only thing that I can think of is I feel like the younger players on this team, Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, as far as on this roster, they're on this roster, on this USA team, I think Jason Tatum would be considered a young player because he just doesn't have enough experience on a USA team, like along the likes of a LeBron, along the likes of a KD. I just feel like the younger players, they're definitely depending on LeBron James and Steph Curry to kind of carry the team. And LeBron James, even though he was able to do it in this game, LeBron James finished the game with a game high of, I believe, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 9 of 13 from the field. And even though he was able to do it in tonight's game, we also got to put it into perspective. It's against South Sudan, who didn't have a lot of NBA talent. They had JT Thor, who was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets, who definitely impressed me in this game. Carlick Jones, the starting point guard, definitely impressed me as well. They didn't have Wenyen Gabriel, who was LeBron's teammate about, I think, 2 seasons ago for the Lakers. So they have some NBA talent. They have talent. You definitely can't disrespect the South Sudan. But depending on LeBron James to carry this USA team in the Olympics, I'm not too sure if that's the right thing for USA to do. Alongside Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry is up there in age as well. And I'm not sure if Steph Curry, LeBron James together as in tandem, absolutely they can do it. But if Steph Curry is having an off night, if LeBron is having an off night, and one of them needs to carry the team alongside KD, like I'm not exactly sure if this team, I'm not sure, man. Like that's just me freestyling right now. That's just me talking off the dome, expressing how I feel. And on top of that, we also got to look at it from the perspective of the talent from the rest of the world. Germany, they actually won the World Cup and they beat USA last summer, where USA landed in fourth place. They didn't even get in the top three. You got France with Wemby, with Rudy Gobert, with Nicolas Batum. France has a whole full roster of NBA talent. You got Canada with their roster is fully NBA talent. Like you have these other countries, you have these other places in the world where the talent has caught up with the NBA. And that's why I just have a weird feeling about this Olympics. Now, could I be wrong? 1,000,000%. I could be completely wrong. When the Olympics start, they could be killing every team by 30 points. They could win in the gold medal game by 30 points. I could be wrong. But there's just something that I'm seeing that I'm not entirely confident in this USA team. Joel Embiid is still, I'm not going to harp on him anymore because I don't know if it's going to change. And I don't want to sound like a broken record. Joel Embiid just doesn't look the same. He doesn't look right. He doesn't look healthy. It looks like he's playing his way through these exhibition games. And it looks like it's going to be like this for the Olympic Games. And I'm not sure if we're going to see the best of Joel Embiid out there. So Steve Kerr, going back to the whole, should Steve Kerr start Anthony Davis or Joel Embiid? I'm not sure if it's going to make any much of a difference because of, like I just said, because of how, I guess, dominant the USA is projected to be in this Olympic tournament. But this USA team, man, I don't think they're as invincible as everybody thinks. I mean, and like I said earlier in the episode, in today's game against South Sudan, one of the biggest things that I took away from it is if if whoever's playing against the USA, if your big man is agile, is athletic, is mobile enough, and has a little bit of a mid-range shot, that's something that the USA has trouble with. If you're Germany, if you're France, if you're Canada, if you're Australia, if you're any of these teams and you're doing a scouting report against the USA, Joel Embiid, first and foremost, he doesn't look healthy enough. So if you drag him out of the paint and you stretch the floor and your big man is able to hit a mid-range shot, or if he's even able to stretch out the floor and hit that three-pointer, that's definitely one of the things that South Sudan took advantage of tonight. Again, the USA, they definitely went into this game just disrespecting South Sudan, which I think is why the game was so close and which is why I think the game ended in a 1 point victory. It wasn't until the second half where the USA really woke up and they really took it seriously. But even when the USA took it seriously, South Sudan was still able to make timely shots. They were still able to get timely stops. And I don't know, man. Maybe everybody thinks the USA is better than what they really are, or this is just a complete anomaly and this is just a one big hiccup. One thing that I definitely want to talk about before I wrap up the episode, because your boy got to get to work. I'm dying to see KD, man. The commentators, Bill Raftery and the other guy, they were saying that it looks like KD is about to play on Monday, and I think Monday they play Germany, and I think they said that they're eyeing for KD to play at least one exhibition game before the Olympics start, and it looks to be on Monday. I'm dying to see how KD looks just with the starting lineup of Steph at the one, Anthony Edwards at the two, KD at the three, LeBron at the four. Joel Embiid is probably going to be starting for the rest of the tournament and for these rest of these exhibition games. Joel Embiid is going to be the starting five. So that starting five, I'm just looking to see how KD blends with Steph Curry and LeBron James specifically. One thing I feel like everybody's not really talking about, I feel like what KD can add to this team defensively. I feel like they're a little reliant on the Drew Holidays, on the Derek Whites, because that's what they're known for, being a defender, being one of the top five perimeter defenders in the league. But KD, low key, he's hugely underrated defensively. Look at those 3 seasons where he was at Golden State. Now, as far as an on-ball defender, I don't think KD is up there. But as far as an off-ball defender, that's where when KD was with Golden State, that's where it really caught my eye. KD was an amazing off-ball defender, protecting the ball at the rim. And I feel like KD didn't get a lot of credit for that, just because of the whole move to Golden State and it made the NBA unfair. But I feel like KD, and especially in this position on Team USA, where he doesn't have to have so much responsibility on his shoulders, he's going to be able to focus on different areas of the floor. And one of them specifically is going to be defensively. And I think KD being in the starting lineup, helping with if Steph Curry is defending on his man and he gets beat, I think KD is going to be able to help at the rim, protecting the rim. Joel Embiid is going to be there as well. LeBron James is known to be an amazing off the ball defender, chase down blocks. So I really want to see KD within the lineup. I really want to see how KD affects this team because if KD is healthy, I think KD healthy is gonna make this team just go crazy in the Olympic tournament. But before I wrap up the episode, man, I want to give a huge shout out to South Sudan for putting on a really, really good game and really coming out to compete, man. That's all us basketball fans want. We want to see the other team put on a good show and just compete against the USA. We don't want to see anybody be scared of the USA because as basketball fans, as hoopers, we realize that the talent around the world has caught up and we actually want to see a really good fight. Now, of course, me being American, I want to see Team USA win, but I wouldn't mind USA being challenged down to the wire, like in tonight's game. So we got one more exhibition game against Germany, and then the Olympics start, I think, a week after that. So, guys, I'm gonna wrap up this episode. Thanks for tuning into this episode. If you're listening to this episode on any of the podcast streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, stop what you're doing, hit that thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. But until next time, guys, thank you for checking out this episode of the Time Flies podcast, and I'll check you out on the next episode. Peace.